Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker, and if you remember the Saturday Night Live feature, Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy, then you'll totally get where I'm going with this. If not, then you'll at least partially get it, and that should be good enough. I'm calling it Random Thoughts with your Inside Sports host. First, what is the deal with the urban fiber plant on the corner of Eastern and Memorial Boulevards in Hagerstown? There's a public online auction underway now through November 29th, but what's up with the heightened security there? And by security, I mean the Nissan Sentra and Buick LeSabre that sit in the lot after dark with their headlights on near the dilapidated guard shack. What are they there to secure? Nothing's been happening behind those locked gates for years, and now there's something to protect? I mean, it wasn't a gold mine, it was a paper plant, and it makes me want to just place a bid so I can go over there and investigate. Second, if you're a member of the Twitterverse like I am, you're fully aware of what an interesting place it can be. It's a world full of choice relative to who we follow, but what about who chooses to follow us? A couple weeks ago when I was shooting video at the cross-country championships, the county championships, I happened to check my phone between races only to find I had a new follower. The follower's handle, Big Meat, Big M-E-A-T. Should I be flattered or concerned? I mean, what does Big Meat expect from me? What if I somehow let Big Meat down? Right now I'm riding the crest of the Big Meat wave with him following me, but if he were to unfollow me, honestly, I don't know how I would handle it. And should I reciprocate and follow back? It's like I didn't know I needed Big Meat until now. And third, is it wrong that I enjoy getting my eyebrows waxed? Last Friday I had it done for the second time in my life, and not only am I not ashamed, there's a component to it that excites me. I'm pretty sure it's the anticipation of that little adhesive strip ripping those bushy hairs right off my brow. It's both exhilarating and tingly, and look how different I look. In fact, I hope you're even able to recognize me. I have to tell you, I can't wait to go back and do it again. But first things first, my newly coiffed brows and I have a show to do. Coming up, state cross country, along with playoff soccer, and volleyball, which comes complete with region champion Smithsburg Leopards in the house. But we start with an all too familiar region semifinal result in football right after this.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
When you're sick or hurt and can't be seen by your regular doctor, you just want to feel better faster. Make a convenient appointment or simply walk into Meritus Urgent Care, where you can receive attention from our caring professionals, from sprains and strains to sore throats, earaches, and other ailments that are not life-threatening. Meritus Urgent Care has you covered with on-site labs and x-rays and much more. We're conveniently located on Pennsylvania Avenue in Hagerstown at the Sylvania Center. Feel better faster with Meritus Urgent Care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We begin with football, and there was one Washington County team still alive when we talked to you last week. It was a 1A West semifinal with Boonesboro traveling to Allegheny on Saturday. Bob Parsaliti joins me now. And Bob, everybody seemed to be worried about and focusing on the fact that Allegheny's number one quarterback and number two quarterback were unavailable for this game. Everybody was worried about that except for Allegheny, as it turned out.
When I did the preview with Coach Clayton Anders, I said, what's the chances of them saying the heck with the quarterback and just run a double wildcat type situation and direct snaps to both of these guys and let them run the ball? Because, you know, it just the whole idea of it. And that basically was it. They ran the ball.
Well, I think any time in a playoff game when you go on the road, and Boonesboro had experience against Allegheny, having seen them earlier this season. Allegheny really didn't do a lot different in this game than what they did in the first one in winning both of them and winning this one 49-7. But Boonesboro had a chance to set the tone early, and they got the football first, started from their own 27-yard line, gained 62 yards. They picked up 3 first downs, but on a 4th and 4 at the Allegheny 21, they get stuffed. Allegheny takes over on downs, drives down into Boonesboro territory, gets all the way to the 32-yard line, Boonesboro forces and recovers a fumble. So 2 opportunities early for Boonesboro to establish itself. They come away with nothing, and then Allegheny forces Boonesboro into a 3-and-out, a very short punt. They get a short field, put points on the board, and it seemed like everything just sort of snowballed from there.
It's similar to what happened to Boonesboro at the Williamsport game. They get down to a certain level. There was a mistake somewhere earlier in that set of 4 downs, and after a first down, and they can't recover from it. And then on top of that, they couldn't recover in the red zone. All of a sudden, they're going for a down play, and it doesn't work, and you turn the ball over on downs. It was something that they've been dealing with a lot this year, at least in the last half of the year.
Well, we know that Boonesboro is a team who wants to run the ball first and foremost. Allegheny was able to shut that down to a large degree. The touchdown that Boonesboro scores comes on a pass play.
You know, for Allegheny, you come in and you sell out at the line of scrimmage. You say, if we're going to make you beat us throwing the ball. And they get the 1 touchdown on the long pass play. And there looked like there was pass plays to be had later to try to make them a little more honest. But then when it got to the point where they're down 21 points or whatever it is, throwing the ball, go ahead. You know, we're going to be back there. We're ready. You know, we can give up a big play or here or there because we're still going to run the ball and because you're not stopping us on the ground.
Well, I know it's always difficult to find a moral victory in a playoff loss that ends a season, but for Boonesboro to have gotten to this point, I think, is very impressive in that at one juncture in the season, they were 3-3. And if somebody would have said, man, they'll be 7-3 and they'll make the playoffs, as Coach Andrews said to you, I would have taken that if you told me before the season even started. And they've got 23 guys who will come back on the roster next year. So it's not like the cupboard is bare. Yes, this is a stinging loss right now, but going forward, there's still a lot of promise there for Boonesboro football.
Well, I mean, Boonesboro should be fairly proud of what they did. I mean, until 3 weeks ago, they were an afterthought. They were 7th in the standings of being the top 4 to get in the playoffs. They dial up a really courageous win, a big win against Williamsport, knocking Williamsport out of the playoffs, and then they held their own and got here. So this was a team I don't think anybody thought was going to be more than 5-5, really. To be really honest with you, I don't think so. And even Coach Andrews says there's a couple of games that we've had this year that you look at paper, we shouldn't even been in. And they pulled it off. So they did not the impossible, let's say the improbable.
Yeah.
And so they did a great job. And I mean, I give credit to the kids that went out there because they're not the same team they were last year. And I give a lot of credit to that coaching staff because they coached those kids up big, I think.
Yeah, it's a season, as you said, to be proud of for Boonesboro football. Bob, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
We'll delve into the awards. That should be interesting. I'm back right after this, delving into state cross country. Andy Mason's here to tell you what happened on Saturday at Hereford in just a moment.
At Hamilton Nissan, we know you've got places to go, so let's travel together. The Nissan Rogue, plenty of room for you, and plenty of room for him. With nearly 40 cubic feet of cargo space, everyone will be using the Rogue for everything, all the time. And on occasion, you'll find an evening for yourselves, and the Nissan Rogue will be right there with you. Hamilton Nissan, let's travel together. Come see us on the Dual Highway.
At home, amid protest, questions were asked.
As the Vietnam debate raged, for those who fought,
from all walks of life, we went where our country told us to go. And sometimes we had to say goodbye to friends.
the Joint Veterans Council of Washita County asks you to join with them and exercise the freedom of choice Vietnam vets helped ensure to honor their service and sacrifice with a monument in their honor.
Freedom is not free. Donate today to the Vietnam War Veterans Monument.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue with cross country now, and state cross country championships this past Saturday at Hereford High School. Joining me is Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Great to be back.
Well, you were there. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because of a personal issue that arose, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about those winners and Boonesboro in particular. The girls, they did it with a lot of flair and a lot of drama, as it turned out, against Brunswick.
Yeah, typically, not always, but often if you're at the finish line, you're watching this, coaches, runners, media like myself, you can sort of tell who's the winner is. You know, last year, remember we were taking pictures of the Boonesboro team minutes after they finished because it was obvious that they won. This year they won, but no one knew it. Becky Walter, the Boonesboro coach, thought they'd lost to Brunswick, the team that beat them, the previous week at the 1A West Region meet. The Brunswick coach thought Brunswick won, and me watching it, I couldn't tell, but I was like, I think it's probably Brunswick.
Wow.
I thought it was probably Brunswick, and Brunswick's top runner beat Boonesboro's top runner. Their number 2 runner beat Boonesboro's number 2 runner, and their final score, their number 5 runner, finished ahead of Boonesboro's number 5 runner. But when you added it all up, Boonesboro had 64 points, and Brunswick had 70. And Boonesboro won their 3rd straight state title, but no one had any idea for like a half hour.
Wow,
it was just too hard to keep track of at the finish. All those girls coming in, boom, and often I can. This time I didn't, and I wasn't. I just didn't know. No one knew.
Well, that's crazy, and we always talk about how important those placings are. Boy, does this point that out.
Oh yeah, every place counts. Every second counts.
Cameron Harper, going in as the favorite, as we talked about last week for the 2nd straight year, comes up short again. This time finishes 4th overall.
Yeah, last year she was 2nd. This year she was 4th. She was, I think, a little slower this year than last year. Didn't have a great race. Didn't fall apart. I mean, she was 4th. She was our top runner.
Right.
Here we have Boonesboro state champions. She led them there.
Yeah, and she didn't seem terribly disappointed in
No,
that
she had a good race, but it wasn't a great race.
Yeah.
She could have done better.
Right.
I don't think she's going to look at this and say that was, wow, I really ran well, because she had a strong race, but I think it's still a race she probably could have won. She finished 27 seconds behind the champion. 2 straight years she's led the team to a state title, and I think that's the top priority at Boonesboro. But the individual title eluded her again.
Right. Well, speaking of a strong run over in 1A for the boys, Garrett Kirchville of Smithsburg, tremendous performance.
Yeah, it's probably the best race of his life. Last year at the state meet, I don't even know if I knew who. I knew who he was, but he didn't. He got on the radar at states last year. He finished in the top 10 and best race of the year. The kid loves the state meet. He loves the hills at Hereford. He got 3rd overall in 1A. Just a fantastic race. 16:47 on a real tough course. He looked as strong as anyone in any race finishing up. I mean, too bad the race wasn't a mile longer.
Yeah, he was only.
He came in strong.
Only about 4.5 seconds out of 2nd place.
Yeah, he just needed a little bit more to catch that kid. If you had to run the course twice, who knows what would.
and he was only 8 seconds back overall of Nate Neely McKenzie
in the 3A race,
who runs 4th in the 3A boys race.
Right, and now Nate got 4th, 16:39, a very strong run, but he was not happy.
Yeah,
he was 40 seconds. He came in all season. He's been talking about wanting to win this race. He finished 40 seconds behind the champion, who won in 15:59. Even if Neely runs his, A game, I don't know if he's going to break 16 minutes. Not this year, maybe next year. But that the win was a really lofty goal. But he wasn't at his very best on Saturday. If he's at his very best, maybe he gets 2nd or 3rd. But he was well off of. He was, I believe, 20 plus seconds away from 3rd place. 3rd place finish, and there was a big gap. And then Nate outkicked the kid from Linganore. Great kick to finish 4th, which is great. Last year he was 12th.
Right.
This year he runs faster. He gets 4th. He can go for the title. He still has one more year.
Yeah, tremendous improvement.
It's hard to win state titles. No one from North's done it in a long time.
Right, and you go from being part-time soccer and part-time cross-country guy last year to full-time cross-country this year. So he's certainly sitting there next year.
Sure.
I think that's a more realistic goal coming up next year. 3A girls, Emily Alexander, the top finisher there within the county and top finisher overall in terms of her time.
Oh, yeah, she finished 12th in 3A, a great race. The past few weeks, she hasn't looked that great. She's a great runner, and she had probably her best race of the season Saturday at States. Her time for the first race of any meet all year for her, she was the Washington County's top girl. Her time in 3A was a few seconds faster than Harper in 1A, and she beat her rival Phoebe Meehan from North, who'd beaten her the last 3 times they'd met. So, yeah, great race. And Phoebe had a great race to get freshman getting 14th state medal. I think both those girls, the goal was to get state medal, top 25. Emily Alexander was 50th last year as a sophomore. This year she gets 12th. Phoebe's 14th. Great showing by both those girls.
Yeah, plenty of potential left for both of them. Just a junior and a freshman, respectively. Andy, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Next week, we'll talk awards for cross country. I'm back right after this soccer playoff talk with Kevin Dunleavy in just a moment.
One, wanna be one. Number one, it's gotta be fun. One, wanna be one. Number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier martial arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick. You feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with soccer, and joining me is Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy. Welcome back to the show, Kevin.
Thank you, Wes.
Well, last Wednesday, one day delayed because of weather, in Cumberland, it was the 1A West Region Championship for the girls. Boonesboro, the Section 2 champs, against the Section 1 champions from Mountain Ridge. And in that particular contest, Boonesboro keeping it close throughout. Goalkeeper Faith Garachi making a number of big saves early on, and that kept Boonesboro in the game to the point where Victoria O'Neill scored in the 66th minute to make it 1-0, and then Boonesboro was able to hold on from there in order to win that region championship, the first in Boonesboro history. So a history-making evening in Cumberland on Wednesday, and that would send them then to Pasadena, Maryland on Friday to play in the state semifinals. But a tough draw there, Kevin. You get the four-time defending state champions in Sparrows Point, and in the first half of that contest, Boonesboro kept it even despite a game that they weren't able to really play evenly.
Yeah. Faith Gerasi again was amazing. She made 12 saves in the first half, and there was sort of an inevitability to the game, though, because Sparrows Point was dominating possession, and you knew that there was she just couldn't keep standing on her head like that and holding them off by herself, pretty much.
Yeah, Sparrows Point showing not only its experience, but also the fact that it knows how to win games, never push the panic button, even though it was scoreless at halftime. Score 5 second-half goals against Boonesboro. Tremendous achievement for the Warriors this season, though. Again, making history for themselves. 12-4-1 on the season, and I looked at the roster. Only 2 seniors will graduate this year, so a bulk of that team coming back next season for Coach Chris Lance. And then over in the 1A West boys, first off, in the region final last Wednesday at Cumberland, Clear Spring taking on Mountain Ridge there. And Clear Spring in that particular game scoring a goal early to take a 1-0 lead in the 25th minute. Jarrett Lozich doing what he's done all season long, taking a long pass from Connor Michael, putting it in the net. Mountain Ridge had gotten a great performance from their goalkeeper to that point. He kept Clear Spring off the board, and he would continue to play well in the second half. And it was Mountain Ridge early in the second half that would score a goal to tie that game about 2.5 minutes into the second half, and then nobody would ever score again. Despite opportunities for Clear Spring, especially a few flurries late in regulation, could not put the ball in the net, so it went to penalty kicks. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is not what Clear Spring wants, because it takes away from what they do so well, which again is use their speed and create opportunities. But in the penalty kick shootout, Clear Spring gets through. They're able to move on, winning that region title. I think a lot of us felt that this is something we saw coming all season long. So they move on to Friday in Pasadena, playing in a state semifinal. They also got a Sparrows Point team, and this Sparrows Point team, you just couldn't take lightly. You look at the record, Kevin, and they were only 500 on the season, but they played much better than that.
Yeah, they got on a roll. They went on a long winning streak towards the end of the season, so you knew they were coming. And then when you saw the team, they were so well organized and had a lot of talent. So Coach Joe Lambert said afterwards they scheduled the toughest teams that they can play, and there's a lot of good teams over in that area. Baltimore Soccer's a big deal.
They go to a penalty kick shootout in the end in this game after Sparrows Point scored first. And really, when you look at it, for Clear Spring, this was an unfamiliar position. They had only trailed in a game one time the entire season coming in. So now they're trying to fight back in a state semifinal. And to their credit, they would get that done. I got ahead of myself a little bit. But in the second half, one of the most gorgeous goals you would ever want to see would tie that game.
Yeah. Jarrett Lasich was drawing all kinds of attention from the defense of Sparrows Point, and he crossed, and Dalton Myers had a fantastic goal, picking the ball right out of midair and right into the corner of the net.
And that came in the 55th minute, but again, it would require penalty kicks to decide the winner in this one, and Clear Spring was not as fortunate this time around.
No. It was, the keeper made a really good save against Jarrett Lasich, and that got Clear Spring down, and it was tough to come back after that. The luck of what happens in a shootout too. There was one ball hit the crossbar for Sparrows Point and it goes in, and then the one that hit the post for Clear Spring doesn't go in. So it's once you get to that point, anything can happen. So
and it's amazing. Clear Spring outscored the opposition 62-7 before those last two playoff games. They were 2-2 in those two playoff games, playing 100 minutes in each of them.
Yeah, they struggled for some reason this year on turf. They averaged more than 5 goals a game in 11 games on grass. They averaged less than 2 goals. I think it was 1.6 in 5 games on turf.
And that's crazy because you think that turf would play to their speed and their ability to utilize that to put the ball in the net. But nonetheless, a tremendous season for Clear Spring as they lose in the state semifinal, end the year 14-2. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Sure thing, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. I've got volleyball on tap next. Smithsburg Leopards in the house when you come back.
Antietam Broadband's Flight Gigabit service is ultra-high-speed internet delivered by a direct fiber connection. We are one of the few communities in the country to have it. But what does it mean? It means businesses will want to move here, which means more jobs, better jobs. It means access to world-class infrastructure for healthcare, education, and nonprofits. It means enhanced social and economic well-being. That's why it won the 2017 Leading Edge Award from the Chamber of Commerce. Flight Gigabit from Antietam Broadband, changing how people connect.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue with volleyball now, and last Wednesday, section finals were played in 3A West Section 2. North Hagerstown fell to Tuscarora 3-1. Meantime, the 2A defending state champions in Williamsport went to Damascus to take on the number 1 seed there. Wildcats come back with a 3-0 loss. Meantime, Smithsburg was at home against Brunswick in 1A West Section 2. The Leopards lost the first set, but then they stormed back, winning each set more convincingly than the one before that to advance to the region final for the 9th straight year, beating Brunswick 3-1. So that set up a region final on Saturday night at Williamsport High School, the neutral site, with Fort Hill coming to play Smithsburg. And I'm not sure that I want to necessarily give everything away here, but I guess I'm a bit of a spoiler because here's the big reveal. My guests on this particular segment, Sydney Scott, Lauren Daniels, and Katie McCracken, the victorious Leopards from Saturday night. Thanks for being here and congratulations.
Thanks.
I know that it's become a little bit of old hat to get back to play for a state championship. But Lauren, you've done it more than anybody else on this set to this point, but I know that it's a lot of work to get there. That first set, I want to talk about that on Saturday night against Fort Hill. 25-14, you win that set pretty easily, but they made a lot of errors in that set. So how does that impact you going forward? Because you weren't necessarily really able to get your offense untracked there. So how does that affect you when another team's making errors? Good for you on the scoreboard, but in terms of getting into the match, how does that make it difficult for you?
I would say sometimes it can be a little setback, you know. You kind of want to get into the gameplay and you want to be in the momentum. but I think when it's errors like that, I think it gives us a chance to capitalize on what we're doing right. So I don't see it as more as a negative thing. I see it as a positive to keep working on what we're doing right on our side of the court and keep the advantage.
The first set, you win it easily. Second set, start very well, up 7-1. Then they kind of get going a little bit. At any point in time, do you get concerned? I mean, what's your mindset during a set like that where there are those swings where you're on top, they come back, they kind of head you, they go ahead? I mean, you know, how do you kind of control the emotions there?
Definitely, it can be really nerve-wracking when you're on the court, like, oh my gosh, they're really getting ahead of us, you know. But as a team, we have to be able to come together and talk about those type of things. And I think our dynamic with that's really well to come together and say, hey, we're down right now, but let's bring our best step forward for the next point, you know. And I think as a team, we do really good doing that. So.
Well, Fort Hill won that second set, Sydney, and then you get into set number 3, and I mean, this becomes quite the battle in that third set. They get off to the good start, and now you have to fight back in that one. Tell me, where does it come from for this team to be able to just reach down and find what it needs to get the job done? I mean, is it experience? Is it a combination of things? Tell me what it is in your mind.
I think it's a combination of the experience. I mean, last year, state finals, we were down, we came back. This year, Linganore, we were down 16-4 and came back. So I think that experience definitely helps us and shows that we can come back and gives you a little bit of confidence. But I think it's also the drive this team has. I mean, this team wants to get to states. We don't take anything for granted. And I think those two combined really help us stay confident no matter what the score is on the scoreboard and just focus on our play. And I think that's really what helped us win the third set and gain the momentum back.
Yeah, you were down by as many as 7 points in that set, Katie. At what point in that set did you feel like maybe you grabbed some of that momentum? I know it wasn't decided until the very end, obviously. You scored the final 3 points, get one that ticks the net to go over to send you to that final set, as it turned out, up 2-1. But did you feel that there was a point within that set that kind of changed the momentum for you?
I think a few of the service runs we went on probably helped change the momentum, and big digs and big kills probably helped change the momentum as well.
How frustrating is it when one of your players gets that big swing and then the other team is able to dig it out? There were a lot of long points.
Yeah.
And I know Lauren knows exactly what I'm talking about, and Sydney does too. But you set them up perfectly, they hit the ball square, and then all of a sudden it's coming back over.
My mindset's just to like give it back to them again, let them have another try, you know.
In that fourth set then, and little did we know that would be the final set of the night, but you jumped on them early, Sydney, and you kind of kept that momentum rolling because obviously that was a very pivotal third set to win that and go up 2-1. But once you got on top of them in that set, it was all Smithsburg after that. Now when you think ahead, and because of the timing of this show, which again, volleyball has dealt us a tough blow here from a scheduling standpoint, you'll have played the match on Wednesday at the University of Maryland before the show airs. But going back to Ritchie Coliseum, what is it that you've learned about going there that makes Smithsburg successful? And by that, I mean, what approach do you take when you go there? Because you never seem nervous whatsoever. I've seen all of you the last couple of years dancing and singing before things even begin. How do you stay so loose?
I think definitely the experience helps us because we've played in that gym before. I mean, definitely some new teams coming in, it's a different feel. But I think just kind of having that comfort that we've played there and we've won there. And then I think just the excitement that it's states and it's semis and just coming in, we're so ready to play, so ready, especially semis, to win that game to get one step closer to the championship. So I think that really just helps us focus and get a lot of momentum going into, especially semis, the first game there.
And being the three-time defending champions, this is a general question to all of you. Do you feel any pressure at all?
Definitely a little bit.
Yeah. I feel pressure.
Yeah, because it matters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling that everything's going to work out just right. I'm on your side, as I have been all season. Yeah. Thanks for doing the promo earlier this year, too.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Maybe we can make this all come full circle. It's the Inside Sports Smithsburg Leopards volleyball cohesion that's going to bring this all together. Hey, best of luck coming up. As I said, you'll already play it on Wednesday, but hopefully Saturday, too. Next week, we'll tell you how the Smithsburg Leopards did. And we've got awards to hand out, the 2017 Inside Sports Fall Sports Awards. Until then, I'll see you on the inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets